Welcome aboard the Boat Buyers Secret Weapon podcast, where we're dedicated to helping first-time and experienced boat buyers find the right boat at the best price so they have years and years of boating fun, because life truly is better on a boat. Today's podcast is sponsored by the Boat Buyers Secret Weapon YouTube channel. Don't pay too much for your next boat. Just visit boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/save to watch a short video. Now, let's hop aboard and have some fun. Hey, welcome to the Boat Buyers Secret Weapon podcast. I am Captain Matt, and we're here with Steve, and we are going to talk a little boat. So, Steve, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, so tell us a little bit so everybody knows your situation. Kind of lay the groundwork for where you're at. And I know you've got some different things bouncing around in your head. So tell us where you're at in your boating history as well.
Okay, yeah, I grew up boating in the summers. Basically had a runabout. Grew up, started water skiing when I was 5 years old, and have tried to instill that in my kids some, and have done boating with in-laws and whatnot. And now I'm starting to think about, basically getting our own boat. To find it harder and harder to find the time to always go to the in-laws to boat. But yeah, they've had runabouts and now they have tri-tunes. And so I've started looking at, what's out there currently in the market, and, just bouncing around between, jet boats and deck boats and whatnot. So it's kind of an initial lay of the land, I guess.
You are in the Midwest, correct? In Ohio, I think.
Yep.
Oh, okay, very good. So you have some boating experience, and you're looking on the pre-owned side. So you have a budget. You said your budget was around 25,000 or so. Yep. Will you need a trailer with your setup? Are you going to be trailer boating there?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, very good. So you've got the experience. You've done some pontooning and some water skiing. You're very familiar with boats, but this will be the first boat for your family. Tell me a little bit about the family. How many people? How old? What kind of stuff are they into?
Yeah, 3 kids and a wife, ages 11, 14, and 17. Girls the oldest, 2 boys, and they've learned to wakeboard. They like tubing and have done some skiing, but they definitely enjoy the boating, and I'm getting pushed a fair amount to get something with a big wake that would be fun for the surf riding behind the boat and that type of thing. And they don't like tri-tunes because they don't have a big enough wake to have enough fun with. So
I understand. Yeah, the tri-tunes can be great, but they don't put out much for the wakeboarding, and certainly not the wake surfing. Okay, so you've got kind of some teens, a little earlier than a teen. Are you gonna be trailering? Would you guys live on the lake? What's your situation for storage and getting the boat to the water?
yeah, it'll be trailer. We actually also have like a 30-foot camper. For this summer, we've got a basically a seasonal site on a small lake, in within an hour and a half. It's actually in southern Michigan. So hoping to be able to basically keep it there, with the poor man's cottage set up, and possibly have the wife and 14-year-old drive the boat some themselves if I'm at work, and kind of use it that way, without having to tow it every weekend or things like that.
Okay.
But in the future, a year from now, things could change, and it could just be you're towing it around whenever you want to go out, and keeping it in storage weekly and all of those fun things. So we're not on a lake or anything.
Okay, very good. So definitely need a trailer. Are you all set on a tow vehicle no matter what size you were to go with? Because you kind of alluded to like 22-ish feet, I think, in your questionnaire.
Yeah, I've got a a Suburban that can tow 8,000. We tow a 6,000-pound trailer, currently a 30-footer. So I'm used to that side of it. So yeah, we've got it now. I'm looking at upgrading that as well, truck, but that's probably a different podcast. But
yeah, I can't give any advice on that.
yeah,
I've got my F-150 that does good, but as long as you know, hey, 8,000-pound towing capacity, pretty much anything we're going to talk about is going to be under that or right at it. So okay, good. I like to ask that in case people aren't thinking that way.
right.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the wake surfing. Now they haven't done any, but they think it's cool. It's awesome. It's super fun to do, but it does require. It's kind of a specialty thing. So
Right.
wake surfing behind a stern drive is not recommended because that prop is sitting there. Volvo's got their forward facing prop now on their forward facing drive that's specifically on a surf boats, but that's only been around for 3, maybe 4 years. And surfing via the jet boat is you're okay safety wise. I'm just not sure what kind of wake that you're going to get. How important do you think that surfing is to your kids, considering the overall boating picture that you guys are going to be doing?
I mean, it's a novelty that they've never done, right? So it's not. I
Yep.
wouldn't say it's a huge importance. I have seen on the Yamahas and whatnot that you can get adapters. I don't know if those are only valid on a 2020 versus a 2015, or how that all works with the adapters you can put on to make a wake on a jet boat or a massive wake on a jet boat. But I've seen a little bit about that, at least on the newer, Yamahas. But
Yeah.
so
Yeah, they do have a brand of them. It's called Wake Shaper. It's basically a wedge. That's another brand, but a wedge that you suction cup to the side of the boat that gives you the change of direction of the flow and gives you the bigger wake on the opposite side. So that's something that is an option if a jet boat's a good decision for you. And it very well could be. I think that could be a good option. With your budget, it's a matter of, hey, let's make sure we find one that's in really good condition, been well taken care of, and has a lot of life left on it. So let's talk about that. You mentioned that, hey, mechanically inclined is not something that you would put in describing yourself. Is that accurate?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you have in your area? Do you have a Yamaha boat dealer that you're aware of?
I think that probably within an hour, but not in
Okay.
the same town.
What about the lake that this year you're going to have the camper on in the poor man's cottage?
Nothing right on that lake for sure.
Okay.
More remote. Maybe it'd probably be maybe in the region. I haven't looked exactly, but somewhere between here and there or north of there. I don't know exactly, but definitely not on the lake.
Okay. Here's something, especially with when you're not somebody that's going to do any tinkering yourself. You're gonna use a service shop. I always like to think about, when I buy this boat, who's going to take care of it?
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with a jet boat with a jet engine, or I should say a jet drive. I got corrected on that on several of my YouTube channels. It's not a jet engine; it's a jet drive. I know that, but it is a different engine. It's a different drive system. It takes sometimes different tools, but definitely different skill set and knowledge. One thing I would do is I would go ahead and visit those Yamaha dealers that are near you. Um, See what their story is on service. Maybe even talk to the salespeople, but more importantly, go and talk to the service department, the service writer, maybe even a technician. If you can get in touch with them. It's probably going to be difficult this time of year. They're real busy, but find out, hey, if I bought a used boat, what are the chances that I could get in on service, and how quickly is your turnaround time? Um, I think that would be a valuable thing if you do end up going the jet boat direction, because although the maintenance on them is pretty simple, you change your oil and you treat your fuel and winterize, which is real easy on those. If you do have a repair that needs to be done, you want to have a good shop that you can go to. And in my experience, the Yamaha boat dealers that sell these things are probably going to be your best bet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Definitely. It does seem like they'd be a little bit easier. And I've dealt with the trailer and winterization on things of that nature. So I mean, I could handle a little bit, but yeah, I mean, if you get into more significant issues, you definitely want to know, I think, where you're going to be taking it and who you're going to be dealing with. And if you don't buy a new one from there, you're probably not going to be top of the list, right?
Exactly. That's exactly where I'm going, Steve, is you want to make sure, because if those boats new are, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90,000, depending on the size that you get. And you're going to have something. There's going to be something that comes up when you buy a used boat. And I don't want you to be in a situation where, man, we can wake surf and we can do our water sports, and we got the awesome back end with the 2-tier swim platform that's great at the sandbar. And then you have something come up that is, not as easy as flushing the engine, not as easy as changing the oil, which is pretty easy on those. It's a little outside of that. I want to make sure that you're not, oh crap, now what? And it's going to be 6 months before they can get it in, or I don't trust them at all. But I think that could be a very good option for you if you get a good feeling from that dealer and that service department of that dealer.
Yep. Okay.
So you also mentioned Outboard. They're very reliable, not very easier, much easier to maintain than a stern drive. They're less complicated. You can run them a little bit further into the season without worrying about freeze damage. But they're not going to be that suitable for the surfing. As a matter of fact, they're not going to surf at all. They're not as heavy. They put out the weight characteristic is completely different. So again, I go back to how important is that surfing aspect to you. But it's cheaper to maintain, typically about the same as that. In a 23, you're probably going to have twins. Cheaper to maintain per engine, I'll say. But you would have twins in a 23-foot jet boat, like the AR 23, I think is one of them that's in that size.
Right.
Have you had experience with outboards running the pontoons, I would imagine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a 150, typical on a tri-tune, which I've been able to ski behind as an adult and on a tri-tune, but that's a different, animal. But yeah, I mean, that's obviously I guess the bigger thing to me is my, the stress or the concern of the whole situation is the, getting in over my head and being able to service it and being overwhelmed in that way. And if I have to give up the dream of trying to wake surf, then so be it. I want something that I can count on. Like I said, it's a novelty that you mentioned. Wake boarding, is definitely you can, I think, do behind any boat, and that's where they again would rather have a bigger wake to get air, but that's probably doable. I would think on most boats.
Yeah, I would say here's a couple of thoughts on engines and drive systems. And I've done a video on this. So you can check that out. Just search jet drives, stern drives, outboards, and V drives, or inboards, I think is what I called them. But here are the advantages and disadvantages for your situation from the way I see it. Is the jet drive like a Yamaha, and I would stick with the Yamaha brand if you're going to go a jet boat.
You would.
Yeah. They've got the best reputation. The service, if you have a good connection with that dealer locally, that's a positive, and I would stick with them. They're going to have the best resale, in my opinion. They're much better than the Scarab and the older Sea-Doos that were out there. Of the 5,000 or so jet boats that were sold last year, I would venture to say that 60, 70, maybe even as much as 80% were Yamaha jet boats.
Yeah.
So that they dominate the market, and it's going to be easier to find service on them. Now, if we take that and we compare it to the outboard, some important things on the outboard for your situation: a little bit simpler. Winterization is pretty easy. You could do that yourself, and even if you're not super mechanically inclined, very very general maintenance are required. There's not a whole lot that's relatively speaking, a whole lot that can go wrong. But they're going to put out a small wake. They're not going to give you a huge wake for the wakeboarder, or for surfing is out 100% with that option. Another negative for you in your area is there's not going to be many of them on a fiberglass boat. You'll find them a lot on pontoons, but you're going to be hard pressed to find them. There's going to be a much smaller selection in your area in the used boat market in the price range that you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
On the positive side, if you get a Yamaha or a Mercury, even Suzuki right now, is Yamaha Mercury, you're going to find a service center virtually anywhere you go. So finding a good technician that's going to be able to get you in, you've got a lot more options to find the one that you click with, and that based on their availability can get you in. The stern drive, a little bit more expensive to own and maintain. So you have to worry about freeze damage and winterizing. So up there, you're going to have to pull it out before, pretty soon after Labor Day, a month or so after Labor Day, depending on how far north you are. You can find technicians pretty easily on Mercruiser for sure. Volvo, check in your area. It's very dependent on what kind of boat dealers you have in your area. So just like I said, check on Yamaha boats to see who's there. Check if there's any Volvo dealers, if that's a drive system and engine that you'd want to go with.
Okay.
On the plus side, it's going to be a heavier engine, so it's going to give you a bigger wake for the wake boarding. I wouldn't encourage the surfing unless you happen to find a forward-facing drive that fits all your other needs. But again, probably pretty slim pickings with that in the price range that you're talking about. But you're also going to have a bigger selection of boats. So you can find the boat that's been well maintained, that you like the color, maybe you like the layout, and there's going to be a bigger selection to make that part of you happy, the aesthetics part. So that's kind of my take on the pluses and minuses of each of those. And it depends on, what's most important to you.
Right.
As far as working on it yourself, you can do a little bit, but most of the stuff you're probably going to have done by a technician. So again, just finding the good shop would be key, but there's a lot more of them out there.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So what other questions and concerns do you have? Because we kind of talked about the drive. You had mentioned a couple boats that you had looked at. I don't know if you found some that you liked, or just brands that you said, hey, I like the looks of it. So throw me out some more questions there.
Well, I mean, I've gone rounds about the seating capacity, right? So I traditionally grew up with a 8-person, runabout, right? V6 175, and the better half of me wants to make sure we can hold 10 people at all times. So then you get into more like deck boats, tri-tunes, thinking you're always going to need to be able to handle 10 people. So that, kind of tips you over the typical 18-foot runabout up to the 22, 23-foot range.
Yep.
And that's why jet boats are great, right? Because you can fit more people with the less engine space. But I've never driven jet boats. I know they're louder, from what I hear. So it seems like you go spend a bunch of money, and then are you happy with it without having spent a weekend actually experiencing it and seeing what it's like compared to what you kind of grew up with. So I guess that's the other side of it. I've started to look more at deck boats, but it seems like they're few and far between.
Yeah,
So
you may have to expand your search a little bit, to, when you're looking at a used boat, and especially in this market today. I helped a buddy of mine buy a what was a 2007 23-foot Chaparral last weekend, or no, maybe it was 2 weekends ago now. But his budget was 25,000. He got it for 22. A 23-foot. Oh, I don't remember. It was an SSI. It was their bow rider, I think. But they're out there. You just have to be selective, and you have to, when you find it, you have to act quickly.
right.
But as far as the brands go, I think for you, I think one of the big decisions that will help you is make the decision on the drive type that you want to go with. So if it's a jet drive and you want to go that Yamaha route, great. Now zero in and open up your search to maybe whatever you're comfortable driving, 100 miles, 300 miles, 500 miles, and follow the checklist in the toolkit. Follow all of the inspection things that you found on the channel, and you'll be able to decipher a quality boat versus one that you want to walk away from, and have that walk away from bar be pretty low. I'm going to walk away from anything that throws up too many red flags for me that I get a bad feeling on. My buddy that bought a boat, he had a deposit on a Sea Ray. Everything looked great. We got to it, had the tech do the compression chest on it, and I said, listen, there's too many red flags. Compression was good, but there's too many red flags. Walk away. He got his deposit back. So don't be afraid to walk away from something. But I think the first thing you do is decide, all right, kids, let's talk boats. Bring your wife in, the five of us. What do we really want to do? How important is this to you? How important is that to you? You weigh in on how important is the maybe getting an extra month out of the season with the outboard versus having a little bit bigger wake for the kids to wakeboard and get some air. And with that conversation, I think, Steve, you're going to come to a little bit more clarity on the drive system, which will then lead you to a little bit more clarity on the style of boat that's going to be important to you. And you may find out your kids say, hey, wakeboarding's fun, surfing looks cool, but I really want to lounge out. I really want to be able to bring my friends and get 10, 12 people on that boat. And maybe that throws you towards the outboard and the tri-tune with your, hey, I want simple maintenance. I want easy, and I'm not going to do anything myself. And that's a conversation that I think will answer a lot of questions for you. Does your wife have any things that are going to be important to her?
Price range and 10 people minimum is what's
Okay.
been.
Okay.
How is towing on the tri-tunes? I mean, is that, you just don't see those flying down the road very often? I guess I was kind of ruling it out because assuming I'm going to need to tow a lot, I guess I felt like they were too wide or too big. Is that just my own preconception?
Yeah. I think you're gonna, if you're pulling a trailer right now, if you're pulling your camper, pulling a tri-tune is going to be a breeze. It looks huge because it sits up higher because you don't have that V-hull that goes into the bunks, but in reality, it's much lighter than a 25-foot tri-tune is going to be 1,000 pounds lighter than a 23-foot fiberglass boat, because it's aluminum and air and plywood and some furniture versus 2,000 pounds of fiberglass in an engine. So it does sit up a little higher, but if you're used to pulling a camper that's already kind of blocking your vision and using your mirrors, you're going to have no problem pulling a pontoon or tri-tune.
And the width is not an issue, right? I mean, just eight and a half, whatever.
Yeah. It's going to be the size you're looking is probably going to be 8.5 beam. It's going to be, so if you were looking at, let's say a Sea Ray 220 sun deck or a Hurricane fun deck or something like that, those are 8.5 at the widest point as well. It doesn't seem like it because they're not 8.5 feet all the way through. But driving down a 2-lane highway, it's going to pull about the same. It just the pontoon's up higher and blocking your vision a little bit more.
Right. Right. Yeah, and I guess that's the other thing is that the market is so hot that to deal with a private seller and try to go take it. Number one, to go see something right now, people don't even want to unwrap them. But
Yep.
how do you go buy a boat when they're moving so quick with it? You're never even taken on the lake, or people. It just seems like, oh, it's gone. It's like, well, how, did they even look at it? It's just crazy.
And some people aren't. I've been, I talk to boaters every day and getting emails from boaters every day. And yeah, there are people out there that are buying boats sight unseen, not water tested. They're saying, hey, the lake's frozen. We can't go out. I
Right.
trust you. I encourage you to be a little bit more skeptical, because there's also been stories of, people pulling boats out that have been seriously damaged and selling them as perfectly fine, and not say, hey, it's lake's frozen, we can't go water test. I was talking to a guy the other day in the insurance business, and he said, we're seeing hurricane boats from down south in the Northeast showing up in the Midwest. They're shipping them there where people aren't thinking hurricane damage, and they're selling them, and people are getting kind of gypped off and screwed. So
Yeah.
another a little piece of advice: go visit some of your local dealers, start those relationships, and say, here's what I'm looking for. I've got cash, or I'm financing and I'm approved. This is what I want. And when you find something, I'm ready to do it. But one thing I do require is an inspection for me personally, and a sea trial before I finalize the transaction. And a reputable dealership will be okay with that. A reputable broker will be okay with that, with a deposit on the boat, with proof of either funds or proof of financing.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and a lot of times, if you go and you make a connection with the salesperson or with the owner of the dealership, they'll have one coming in and they'll say, hey, listen, Steve, I've got this guy trading the boat. He ordered his new one. It's going to be here in April or May. I think it could be perfect. You can look at it, get it all locked down for the most part, and when this guy's new boat comes in for delivery, then you can do the finalization on that boat. And you may just find the diamond in the rough that nobody else even knows about, because you understand how it works, and you talk to the dealership and said, hey, here's what I'm looking for. I'm serious. If you find the right thing, I'm ready to go. That requires you, though, to go in and say, this is what I want: 23-foot, this type of drive with the trailer. And then they'll be more than happy to do that for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's probably the right method. It just seems like all the Craigslist, Facebook stuff, it's just kind of wacky to just go there, sight unseen. But
yeah, and it's totally fine. You can definitely find nice boats that are a private seller is selling. You just, as soon as a red flag comes up and they say, oh, it's too much of a hassle to get it unwinterized, and it's going to cost me $100 to do it, or $200 to re-winterize it. You need to take the risk of, I'll pay for it. If I don't buy the boat, I'll pay for to have it re-winterized. But I'm not writing a $25,000 check and just taking your word for it. Trust but verify.
yeah. What do you think about saltwater effects on a jet boat that's used, that's 10 years old, that came
I would,
down south?
yeah, I would walk. That's something that it's too harsh of an environment for a boat that spent 10 years in saltwater. There's gonna be, even if they were the most meticulous people, there's gonna be corrosion. There's gonna be something that comes up and causes problems for you. Now, here's the deal: 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10 of those, you may not have that issue, but I would rather find something that I'm 95% certain is not going to have a major issue. And dealing just with freshwater boats cuts out a lot of problems. And then you still have to do your due diligence and make sure that, that it's been well maintained, that there's nothing that you could identify right out the gate.
Now, if it's with a dealer and they say, "Oh yeah, we did our inspection points and it's good," I guess how do they, how do you tell what's wrong with an engine on the because some of that is
Yeah,
worried about internal corrosion, not something you can really see, right? Or
It may be good. They may be 100% right. But if it's my 20 grand, I'm not taking the chance that this boat has been absolutely 100% taken care of. And there's salt in every nook and cranny of a boat that's been run in saltwater for 10 years. It just, saltwater people, they have to deal with it. I just did a video, freshwater versus saltwater, and they get the benefits of a dolphin jumping off their bow and seeing whales and going, 50 miles offshore and having amazing fish to catch. But on the flip side, their boats get beaten to death by the salt and the sun and the harsh environment that we on the freshwater, we don't have to deal with. And I've got a boat expo that's coming live, and I interviewed my brother for it. He bought a boat from Florida that he thought was great. It was a saltwater boat. They got it home to the Lake of the Ozarks, and they found all sorts of issues that were saltwater related that they didn't even know to look for. It's just my advice to you would be stay away from it. There's another boat that will suit your needs.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay.
So has this been helpful for you, Steve? I feel like I just threw a bunch more questions for you to answer and didn't give you any actual advice, but has it been valuable for you?
Yeah. And I mean, the only other area I did watch your thing on Bayliner. In my mind, I've been dealing with boats 30 years. I had that impression, and I guess my question was, did companies change, things improve, things get worse? The VR6 looked like a great option for what the amount of people and everything. And is that a quality boat? Or I know it came out, I think, in 15 or 16. Should I be considering that when I get down to specific models?
Here's the good thing about buying a used boat is if it was cheaply made and it's going to break, it's probably broken in the first 5 years. Mm-hmm. Everything else you're going to feel in the sea trial is, a Bayliner is not going to ride as solid as a Cobalt, but it's going to be, $15,000 less on a used boat. You're going to be able to get a couple years newer. And the bottom line is they both are going to have a Mercruiser or a Volvo engine, or a Yamaha or a Mercury. So the half of the boat's identical to any other brand out there. And then if the boat's been well maintained and it hasn't broken yet, you're probably okay. You drive. One thing I like to ask is, what kind of vehicles do you drive? If you can get let's say a Ford Explorer or a Suburban or a Yukon, or you can get a Kia Sorento. Well, the Kia Sorento is not as nice. It's not as well built. It's not as solid, but it's a perfectly adequate vehicle for virtually everybody. But if you like that extra luxury, if you like the name, that's associated with the products that you have, and that matters, brands matter to you. I think a Bayliner is a perfectly fine boat if it's been well maintained and it fits all the other check boxes in the toolkit. That's kind of my overall opinion.
Okay. Yep. All right. Great.
So, anything else, Steve, that was on your mind that or that popped up during this conversation that you think, hey, I got a question on that, or I've heard this? Anything else that I can answer for you and throw my 2 cents in?
No, I think it's just I think what I haven't done at all is really go to dealers, talk to people to get that side of it versus just completely online searches, and whether it be the service tech side or just the actual buying, and try to get those resources working in my direction. And you're going to learn a lot just from talking to somebody for 10 minutes that lives the world every day, right? So that's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to get a local flavor. So like I said, a Yamaha versus Mercury, or I'm sorry, Volvo versus Mercruiser. You're going to find out after you visit a few dealerships, not many people sell Volvos. If I do get a stern drive, I should get a Mercruiser. You're going to find out that, hey, on those lakes that you're boating, there's a great technician that he specializes in Suzuki's. Great. Now I can narrow my search there. And the other thing is you're gonna have the need for a service technician. You're gonna have the need for a, hey, I need new canvas. I need new this, and now you'll have a relationship with somebody to call. I think buying a boat from a private individual is totally fine if you follow the checklist and you're diligent about making sure it's the good boat. But having a dealer relationship is really, really helpful. And buying a boat for them is a great start to a dealer relationship. You give them 25 grand and they're more apt to answer your phone calls and to spend some extra time with you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's probably the road I need to go down next. It's hard because it's such a hot market that it's like, you get this pressure in your head of you just got to hurry up and do it. But I tend to want to buy a used car that's 2 years old and keep it for 10 years. And I'm probably the same with a boat. So it's a big decision. You got to do it the right way and don't get caught up in the hot market as much.
Yeah. Be thorough in checking it out, but don't dilly dally and make your decision. Once you decide this boat's a good boat, it fits all of our check boxes, and you can sea trial it, write the check, quickly, but don't write the check before you do all the due diligence. That's where you need to slow down. Once it checks the boxes, then let's do it and pull the trigger. So hey, I mentioned the US Boat Expo. I'm getting ready to launch that soon. I will go ahead and give you free access to that. It's got a bunch of interviews from technicians, from other industry experts that I think you'll find it valuable. I'll give you access to that for participating here on the podcast, and I'm sure you'll find some extra value in that as well, and another take on things too than just my experience and my take.
Great, thank you.
So look for that. Well, thank you. I appreciate you joining me here on the podcast. And if you would, when you make that call, when you got a picture of the boat, send me a shot and I'll put it up with this episode.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Let's pull up the anchor and run this podcast back to the dock. We'll be back again with another helpful and fun episode next time. If you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, visit boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/guest, and I'll help offer insights into your boat research and shopping experience. Also, we'd appreciate it if you took just 2 minutes to rate and review this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. It helps others find us so we can help more boaters. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it in your boating groups on social media. They will certainly thank you. And by the way, if you haven't already, grab your free Boat Buyers Secret Weapon Toolkit at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/toolkit. And so you don't pay too much for your next boat, visit boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/save for a short video. Now, before we go, I want to leave you with a few first-time boating tips for when you own your new boat. Number 1, know your local boating laws, basic navigation rules, and how to operate your boat safely. It'll make boating even more fun for everyone. 2, be aware of your wake at all times and pay attention to no wake zones because you are responsible for your wake. When maneuvering at slow speeds, you can put out an enormous wake. If going slow, be courteous, save some fuel, and drop down to idle speed, just in forward gear to ensure there is no wake. This could save you an expensive ticket and will keep you from being that guy on your waterway. Number 3, boats do not have headlights. They have docking lights, specifically made for seeing in tight quarters and docking. Do not turn your docking lights on while cruising down the water. It can blind other boaters and is very dangerous, and again, could save you an expensive ticket. Number 4, follow the maintenance schedule for your boat. Change the oil, impeller, gear lube, winterize if you need to winterize in your area. Inspect your trailer tires, bearings, and grease the hubs if you're a trailer boater to ensure you don't experience expensive and unnecessary repairs that will impact your boating time. Number 5, always double check your plug is in, your battery is charged, and the fuel is full before heading out for a day on the water. It could just save your boating day. And if you're a trailer boater, I've got a few extra tips. Number 1, at the boat ramp, prepare your boat your gear and your guests in the staging area. Then when you're ready, back down the ramp, unload the boat, head to the parking lot, and right back down to your boat to be fast and courteous to your fellow boaters, and don't tie up that ramp unnecessarily. Next, use transom tie-down straps when trailing your boat. Very bad things can happen if you don't, and they do happen. 3, check everything in the boat is secure before heading down the road. Seat cushions, gear, keys, towels, even tubes and lily pads can get blown out when pulling your boat down the highway or interstate. And most important, have fun. Enjoy your boat and get on the water as much as possible, because life truly is better on a boat. Until next time, this is your friend in boating, Captain Matt.